An admin dashboard can be a crucial part of your application, which is why in today's video, we're going to be building a fully responsive admin dashboard using React, specifically using Next.js, Tailwind CSS, Headless UI, and we're going to be using hero icons for the icons. This dashboard contains a top bar, which has a menu, notifications, and a button to open and close the sidebar. It also has a sidebar with navigation items, and as you can see, it's also mobile friendly, and the sidebar works on mobile as well. So without further ado, let's get into creating this dashboard. So the first thing we need to do is set up our Next.js project. So fairly easy, it's just a single command. So we do npx create -next-app, and you can call it whatever you want. I'm going to call it admin dashboard. I think that I spelled that wrong. And we do --use-npm. So by default, create next app will use yarn, which is fine. If you want to use yarn, you can leave that part out. But we're going to be using npm to install packages and also run the thing. So we're going to do npm run dev. So it seems a bit weird to use yarn in our case, but you can obviously use yarn if that's what you're used to using. So we'll let that install. Shouldn't take too long. And once we've done that, there's a couple more packages we need to install. So we will cd into that. So if you cd into admin dashboard and do npm i, and what we'll do is do @headless UI /react and @hero icons /react, and install those two packages. So Headless UI, if you're not familiar with it, it's a really good package. It gives you a lot of the JavaScript functionality for things like modals and drop-down menus and stuff like that, but it doesn't give you any of the styling, which is quite nice actually, because it means that we get to add our own styling really easily. And we're going to be using Tailwind for that, which we'll install in a second. And hero icons is just an icon library. I think it's made by the same people that made Tailwind, but I might be wrong on that one. So it's a very Tailwind heavy project, this. Headless UI is also made by the people that made Tailwind. So next thing we need to do is install Tailwind. We can forget about this first step because this is just creating a Next.js app. And we can continue from the second step. So we need to do this npm install. I hate when it does that on Mac. The bottom menu pops up on your other monitor. So we just paste that. So we do npm install -d Tailwind CSS, post CSS, and auto prefixer, and we install those three packages. And the next thing we need to do is initialize Tailwind. So if we copy that as well, npx Tailwind CSS init -p. So this will add post CSS and Tailwind config. And what we will do is we can just copy this. So if you click this icon, copy that, and then in tailwind.config.js, we'll paste this in there. So if you open this in whichever text editor you want, so I'm going to use Visual Studio Code, and it should be zoomed in. Hopefully this is zoomed in enough, by the way. Let me know if this is okay in the comments for the next video. But it should be big enough because I know people want me to zoom in on the code because it's a bit too small sometimes. So we can get rid of everything in here and just paste what we copied, which is pretty much the same. It's just got these the content stuff here. It'll just tell Tailwind what files to look into to get an idea of what classes we're actually using, and then it'll get rid of all the other classes. So now that that's done, we should be able to, so we've got this stuff to put in globals.css. So that's in this styles folder. So if we do globals CSS, and again, we can get rid of all this stuff and just paste in this. And we can do some cleaning up as well here, so we don't really need this home module. So we can get rid of that. We don't really need the API folder, that's for more serverless stuff, so we don't need that. And I think everything else, oh yeah, we can get rid of all the stuff in here, but what I'm going to do is replace the stuff in there with this final step here. And if we just get rid of all this, this will be our way of testing whether CSS, whether Tailwind CSS is installed and is actually working properly. So what we'll do is go back to our command line and run npm run dev. So I don't think we have anything else to install, so that's all good. We can keep this running on in the background. So we copy the link there and we can paste it in and go to it. So what we should see is hello world with an underline, and it should be a fairly large text. So Tailwind working, which is good. If we go back to our code, what we'll do is we will add a new folder in the root directory. So there, and we'll call it components, and this will house all our components. And one last thing I want to do in globals.css is just add the background for the body. So we'll do body, and then we can do @apply, and we'll do background gray, and we'll do 100, and that will do, and that will just change our background to a gray color across the board. So that's good. And then globals.css we can close. We don't need that anymore. We can get rid of tailwind.config, and we can also get rid of index.js for now. We will add something to it later, but that isn't really too important for this tutorial because we're focused on the actual layout. And whilst we're here, we might as well edit the app.js as well. So we've got import styles global.css, which is fine. What I'm going to do is import layout, which we don't have yet, but we'll add it in a second. So we'll do import layout from, and it's going to be /components/ and then it's going to be layout. So we don't have it yet, but don't worry about that. That's fine. And what we need to do here is wrap this component in layout. So we'll do brackets for this, and we will indent that one. And we can do closing bracket, and we'll do layout, and then move component inside of layout. So basically what we're doing here is making sure that all the pages that we have, so index.js, for example, is a page. This will be like the home page of the dashboard. It's going to be wrapped in our layout. And our layout will include the top bar and the sidebar, so it'll always be there. And it just makes it a lot easier. You don't have to, include the layout on like each page. You just wrap the entire application in the layout, which is easy. And we can close that. We don't really need that anymore. So quite easy there. So we've got 3 components that we're going to be worrying about. We've got layout, and I'm going to be using .js. I'm only using .js because I've got a plugin called Prettier, which when you save, it will make the code, it'll like reformat the code to look nice. But for now it only works, well, I can set it up to work on JSX files, but it only works on JS files in my VS Code at the moment. So if you want to do layout.jsx, you can do, or just do .js. It's really up to you. We've also got topbar.js, and we've got sidebar. So quite simple. We've only got 3 things to worry about in this tutorial. Topbar, sidebar, and layout. So let's start off with layout. That's sort of like the main thing. And what we'll do is import some stuff now. Some of the imports we're doing, similar to how I did, I imported layout here without actually having layout. That will happen a few times in this tutorial. We're about to do it in a second. And I just want to make you aware that we will add all this code later, so don't worry about it too much. If you get like red lines and stuff like that, it's not too much of an issue. So we're going to do use state, and we'll do use effect. If I could spell, still can't spell. And then fragment. All of that is coming from React. We're going to do import. And this is what I was talking about a second ago. So sidebar from, and then it'll be /sidebar. We're also going to import topbar from /topbar. One more thing as well, we're going to import transition from Headless UI /React. So we'll get into transition in a second. Really cool tool that Headless UI gives us. So we'll do export default function, and it's going to be layout. We're going to accept children as a prop, and yeah, we'll just open this with parentheses. And that is, yeah, that's the start of our layout done. So this is where things get a little bit trickier. Obviously this dashboard is mobile friendly, and with that comes some complications. So what we're going to do now is write some code to basically tell us whether we're on a mobile or not. So we'll do const, we'll do show nav, and we'll do set show nav. And this is going to be use state, so we'll do use state, and we're going to set the default of this to true. So by default, it will show the nav, and this will be on desktop. So you'll see in a bit, we're going to set it to not show by default on mobile, because the sidebar is going to work a little bit differently on mobile, but we will get to that in a little bit. So we'll do one more, and it's going to be is mobile, and then we're going to do set is mobile, and that's going to be equal to use state false for now. What we'll do is do a function, and we're going to call it handle size. And basically what this function is going to do is it's going to have a look at the width of essentially the viewport, and if it's below a certain size, it's going to say that we're on mobile, and if it's above that size, it's going to say that we're on desktop. So what we'll do is if inner width is less than or equal to 640, we're going to do set show nav false and set is mobile to true. So this number here, this 640, is the pixels of the viewport, so how wide the viewport is in pixels. Now, by default, 640 pixels is the width of mobile in Tailwind CSS. Now, obviously, if you go in and change some things, like let's say you say that you want that breakpoint to be like 650, then you would need to change this number as well. So there's something to bear in mind, but I think most people would keep it to the default, so you should be fine with 640. And then what we're going to say is, if that's not the case, we're going to do set show nav to true and set is mobile to false. Now, you'll notice that the values we put in there are the same as up here, so you might think like, why bother? Because the value is going to be like that anyway. but we're sort of just taking into account the potential use case, maybe that there's like a tablet, for example, and the person, let's say, flips the tablet around, so like rotates it, sort of landscape, and then it goes back to being what could be considered a desktop view. And then maybe they rotate it again and it becomes more of a mobile view, if that makes sense. Whether that would actually happen or not, it is another matter, but we have it there just in case, just to make sure that it can switch back and forth between desktop and mobile. It may not get used, but it's there just in case. So we'll do a use effect here, and in the use effect we will do if, and this part is very important, type of window is not equal to undefined. We can add event listener resize, so we're listening out for resize events, and if this happens we want to call this handle size function. Let me change the name of this function to resize, because that makes a little bit more sense. So we'll do resize. There we go. And then what we need to do is also add a return function. And what this will do is when this component is unmounted, it will then call this, well, it'll call this function, and then whatever's in this function will happen. So in our case, we want to do remove event listener, and we want that to be resize, and then handle resize. So yeah, that's not gonna have any parameters that it's watching. So we just want to call this once when the component is mounted, and then never again. So we do this empty square brackets here. So we can just save that. Let me just change my indentation to 2 spaces, because it keeps saving it and taking off some of the indentation, so I might as well just keep it at 2 anyway. So now let's do the actual page. So we do return, and we do brackets. So I'm going to add an empty tag there, just to encase everything. And then we'll do top bar, and top bar is going to accept 2 props. So we've got show nav, that's going to be equal to show nav, and then also set show nav, which is going to be equal to set show nav, and that's fine. That's actually going to be a self-closing one, so we'll do a slash at the end of it like that. We're going to have the sidebar component next. However, the sidebar is wrapped in a transition because we want to add that animation to the sidebar. So if we do transition like that, and there is a fair bit to do here, so bear with me, take a little bit of time. So we're going to do this as, we want to do an equal there, so as equals, and then fragment. So we're doing it as a fragment. Show, and that's going to be show nav. So that's going to determine whether the nav bar is actually going to show up or not. So now we've got these sort of classes used for the animation stuff. I guess you would call it animation. So we've got enter, and that's going to be equal to transform, transition, duration, and that will be duration dash, and then in square brackets we do 400 milliseconds. So then we'll do enter from, and that'll be minus translate x full, enter 2 is going to be translate -x-0. And then we've got the leave animations to do. So we've got leave equals transform. Same as the duration before. So we've got duration dash 400 milliseconds. We've got transitions. It's fairly similar to the enter one. And we've also got ease in and out. So got leave from. I told you there was going to be a lot to do with this one, but thankfully these last two are really short. So we've got translate, if I can spell that right, translate -x-0, and leave 2 is going to be minus translate -x-full. So that's our transition done. So that's what's going to make our sidebar look a lot smoother when it enters and exits. And then we're going to do sidebar, component, sidebar, and that's just going to accept show nav. So equal show nav. There we go. And that's again going to be self-closing. And then below this transition, we're going to have the sort of main content. So we'll do, we'll do main, and we'll do class name, and hang on, we need to do curly braces for this one because we're going to be using some JavaScript. So we'll do pt-16 transition all. Now this is all part of the animation stuff, so obviously our sidebar is going to be going in and out quite smoothly. We want our page to do the same thing, so it's basically going to like follow the sidebar as you would have seen in the intro. It's going to follow the sidebar quite smoothly, which also means we need it to go at the same speed. So we're going to do duration, and we're going to do dash in square brackets. We'll do 400 ms. Important thing to note about this is when you do this square brackets, you're basically putting in like a custom input. So obviously duration dash, and then it has Tailwind has some built-in ones like 300. But if you do the square brackets, you can just pass in whatever you like. And here's where we do the JavaScript. So we're going to do show nav, and is mobile is false. We're going to do PL56. Otherwise, we won't do anything. And we will close that. Basically, what we're doing here is, I said that the sidebar works slightly different on mobile. So on desktop, what we want is all the content, so the page, to be pushed to the side so that you can see the sidebar and the content of the page. However, on mobile, what we want it to do is actually, we want the sidebar to hover over the content because it wouldn't all fit otherwise. So yeah, that's why we have this PL56 here, which will push all the content to the side. But then on mobile, we don't have anything because we want the sidebar to basically overlay the content instead. So let's add a div, and we'll add a class name in this div. We'll do px-4, so we'll give it a bit of padding, and that's going to be on mobile, a bit of padding on mobile, and then we'll do md px-16, so we'll give it more padding on desktop. So important numbers to note here, PL56, I think the width of the sidebar is 56. So let's say that we missed out this part here, this PX16 and PX4. Actually, the PX4 doesn't really matter too much, but the PX16, if we didn't have that, the content would be touching the sidebar. So what I do is I have this as the main container to just get it so that the content shows, and then I add another container under it which has a bit of padding, and that will push the content away from the sidebar so that there's a little bit of a gap between the content and the sidebar. And it also applies to the other side as well, because we're doing px, so it's on the x-axis. There's also a bit of space on the other side, and that just makes it look a lot, you know, if you had it right up to the sidebar, it would look a bit weird. But we'll see all this later when we actually start looking on the browser and looking at what we've done. So what we're going to do here is pass in children, and in our case, the children are going to be the pages. So essentially what we're doing is just wrapping every page in this code here, in all of this, so that the top bar, sidebar, and also all this styling and stuff applies to every page. So the next thing we need to add, I think, would be, it really doesn't matter because yeah, it doesn't matter too much because we're gonna basically, if we looked at this now, it would all be broken. Yeah, as you can see, it's all broken because we don't have any of this sidebar and top bar, so we would need to add both of these anyway, so it doesn't really matter which one we do first. I think if we do sidebar first, that would be good because that'll give me a chance to explain something that's a little bit tricky. And to be honest with you, I don't know if I can explain it, but you'll see what I mean now when I do this. Import forward ref from React. Now that's the only import we have from React on here. Usually we have like use state and use effect. For this one, just forward ref, but it's a very complicated one, unfortunately. Basically, because of this layout here, because of this transition, sorry, we're using a custom component as the sort of parent container, I suppose you would call it. And usually if you did like, let's say you did something like this, you had div and then inside of div, oh, sorry, I just went top of the page there. But if you had div as like the parent component, it would be fine because this functionality is like built into divs in React. However, when we're using a custom component, we sort of have to add this ref functionality ourselves. So you see what I mean now. If I just quickly write this component, so we'll do const sidebar. Already it's looking a little bit different to what we've been doing before. So we do const sidebar, and this is where it gets really different. We do forward ref, and forward ref is actually a function, and the function will work like this. So we can do, the first thing we do is specify the props, sort of like how we normally would. So in our case, we'll do show nav. And the second thing will be ref. So we're passing in the ref. And then we'll do this. So it's going to give us an error here. It's probably going to be component is missing display name. So again, this is where things are very strange. You might not have seen this before. So we'll do sidebar dot display name equals sidebar. So usually components sort of name themselves, because if we look at layout here, we can see we've got export default function layout. Now layout is the display name of this component, but in our case we don't have that, so we have to specify the display name in a separate place, and we're just going to do it here. And we also need to export default sidebar. There we go. Can't spell. So yeah, as I was saying, this is a little bit confusing, but it's just because we're using this transition here. We have to pass a ref through. So these transitions use refs, and we have to pass that into sidebar. And the way we do that is by using this forward ref function, and then we've got the ref here. And so we'll see this in use now. If I do, well, bear with me 1 second because we have actually got some imports to do. So we do import link, and we'll do from next/link. And we've got some icons as well, so we'll do import, and then we'll do home icon. I don't think that'll auto-complete for us. Credit card icon and user icon. And those are going to be from at hero icons /react/24 and solid. There we go. And then one more thing, we're going to import use router, and that'll be from next/router. So the first thing we need on this component is const router is equal to use router. So this is going to tell us, well, we're going to be using this. You can do a lot of things with router, but we're going to be using this specifically to tell us what the route is, and that's going to allow us to know whether the sidebar menu item should be active or not, depending on the route that we're in, or that we're on. And then we'll do return, open brackets, and we'll do div. So this is where we actually use ref, and this is what I was talking about when I said that that div has this functionality built in. So we do ref equals ref. So this is basically what transition would do if you use div as the parent instead of sidebar. I tried doing that when I was testing because what I wanted to do was avoid using this forward ref, but it actually broke sidebar like quite badly. So yeah, we have to do it this way, unfortunately, with this forward ref function. But that's fine. It's good to know that this exists and how to use it, I suppose. So that's okay. We'll use class name, and this is going to be fixed. It's going to have a width of 56, which is the same as our. If we go back here, it's the same as the padding that we're using here. So this is important to note because you might want to change the size of the sidebar. So if you do that, you just have to bear this in mind. Whatever number you change this number to has to be reflected in the padding here. Otherwise, it may overlap the content. So just bear that in mind. Let's try and get the menu back on the other monitor. So W56, we're going to do height full because we want it the full height of the page. I'm going to do background white, and I'm also going to add a little bit of a shadow to it just to make it stand out a little bit, and we will close that. So inside of this is going to be a bit, not tricky, but it's going to take a bit of explaining to do why I'm doing this the way I am. So we'll do div class name flex justify center. We're going to do margin top 6, and we're going to do MB, so margin bottom of 14, just to give it a bit of space around it. So there's two things here. First of all, you need a picture. So this is the logo, by the way. You're going to need a logo to put here. I'm going to just quickly see if I can drag in a logo here. So if I've got public here, you could probably actually just use this versal.svg if you wanted to. I think that would work. I'm going to drag in two things here, and you'll be able. I'm going to leave a link to the Git repository in the description, and maybe even in the top comment. So you should be able to get these images from there. But I'm just going to drag these in. So we've got Ferox transparent. So this is a logo that I use for test projects, but also it is actually a logo of something that I'm working on at the moment. So you can't keep this logo because it's my logo, but you can use it for this project when you're just building it. And I've also got this image here, which is mansmiling.jpg. Very nice. And we can look at that image. It's just a royalty-free image of a man smiling, which we're going to be using for the avatar. The little profile picture. Obviously, you can use whatever you want, and you may actually want to get to a point where, you know, later down the line in development, you can use the user's uploaded icon instead of like just a royalty-free image. But you know, that's later down the line. We won't be covering that in this video. So this is a part that I'm going to need a bit of explaining to do. Basically, when you do images in Next.js, you usually use something called next image. However, I have found next image to be the biggest pain in the ass ever. Like, there isn't many things that are really, well, I get annoyed with development a lot because obviously running into bugs and stuff is quite annoying. But this next image thing isn't a bug, it just doesn't work that well, I don't think. And maybe I'm just using it wrong, but yeah. I'm not using next image for this because I want to set the width and height and stuff like that. And doing that in next image is really annoying to do. Because you had to be, well, you'd have to be specific in this case anyway, but yeah, it's just annoying. So I'm not going to use next image, but I mean, if you really want to follow the advice of Next.js, you can use that if you can get it working, that's great. But yeah, I'm just going to be doing it my way. And what I'm going to do is add an image here quickly. So I'm going to do I'm going to do image, img, class name, and I'm going to do width 32, and the height is going to be auto. I'm going to set the source to /ferox transparent.png, and you also have to set an alt. Next.js requires you to set, well, it doesn't require you to, it just gives you a warning if you don't set an alt. So I'm just going to set the alt to company logo, and that should be fine. And that's the cell closing tag. Now, it gives us a little yellow line, which is nice. So it says, do not use image. Use image from next image instead. Now, I'm not going to do that, obviously. So to get rid of this yellow line, we can wrap this in picture. So if we wrap this in the picture tag, it basically says, I think it says on the documentation somewhere, that if you're not going to use next image, at least use this picture tag. I don't know why exactly, I don't know if it's just good to follow that, like it's a sort of standard type thing, but yeah. That's what you have to do to get rid of the yellow line. So that's what I'm going to do, because I don't want to use next image. So let me just change it again. By default, I use 4 spaces, but yeah, in this case, I'm just using 2. So I'll just change that to 2. So the next part is the links part. So what we'll do is we'll do div, and we'll do class name. It's going to be flex, and it's going to be a flex column, so it's going to go downwards. Instead of cross, which flex does by default. So we've got a lot of classes to do here, which is going to be fun. So we need link component, and the href of this is going to be just /, and we can close that. And inside of this, we're going to have a div. So let me just do div, and we'll do, I'm going to do this on a separate row because there's quite a lot going on here. So I'm going to do class name and curly braces, and then inside of here we'll do pl-6, py-3, mx-5. We're going to make it rounded. Obviously you can do what you want with the styles, by the way. I didn't really mention this, but all the colours that we're using, the fact that we're making it rounded, it's really up to you what you do with it. You know, you might want a more sharper style, so you might not want to do rounded. You might actually want to make it more rounded. It's completely up to you what you do. Text center, you can use what I do as a base and then just build upon that as well if you want to do that. Cursor is going to be pointer, so we want it to turn into a pointer when we hover over it. MB-3, it's going to be flex. We're going to do items, center, and we're going to transition the colors in this case. So we'll do transition colors, and what we want to do is some string interpolation. So we'll do router dot path name, and we're going to check if that's equal to /, and it keeps doing that. If it is, then we will set the background to orange 100 and the text to orange 500, and if it isn't, we will set the text to grey 400. We'll do hover background orange 100 and hover text orange 500. Okay, so a lot going on there, but yeah, that's the bulk of it done. Just a little bit more for the link to go. So we'll do another div inside of that div, and then we'll do class name. We'll do mr2, and this is going to hold the icon. So we'll do home icon in this case, and we'll do class name, and we'll just do h5 width 5. So we'll give it a, oh, hang on, sorry, that's another self-closing one, so we don't need it to do that. We can just do / like that. So yeah, h5 width 5, so that'll be the height will be 1.25 rem, and same with the width. So we'll do another div below that, and this is we just do a p for this, so a paragraph tag, and that's just going to say home. Now we can save that, and that is pretty much all there is to it. Now obviously you're probably not going to have one menu item, so there's two ways of doing this, for now at least. You could either define an array up here, so we'll do like const nav items, and then have the array of nav items, so it's probably going to be an array of objects, and then you'd have like name, I don't know, whatever, and then like URL and stuff like, oh, I don't know where that came from, but and then you would basically do down here where it says link, above this you would do like nav items dot map, and then you would loop through them and use the array of objects to easily create all the nav items you need, and you would just use the values in that object to fill out the icon, the URL, and the name. In our case though, we're going to go the easy route. We're just going to actually just copy and paste and then change the values, just so we can get, we're only going to do it twice, so we've got this initial one, we're just going to copy a link below that, and then a link here, and what we'll do is we will change these to something different. So we've got account, if I can spell that right, with 2 C's. Then we need to change the path name here to be account as well. The icon is going to be user icon, and the name is going to be account. I should probably just copy and paste the that part. So if I do billing, and then if I copy and paste that, I can do billing. Oh no, I just copy. I do this all the time. I copy and paste something, and then accidentally copy when I want to paste, so I end up just copying nothing. So there we go, paste. Do it here as well, but I'm going to change that to a capital. And then the icon is going to be credit card icon. So that's pretty much done for the sidebar. Obviously we can't see it yet because we're just going to get errors, I think. Yeah. I think that's all fine. Yeah, so that'll probably all get fixed when we add top bar. So show nav. Oh, okay, that's interesting. So actually, it doesn't look like we even use this show nav, so it's probably a bit pointless at the moment. Yeah, we might not actually need that show nav, so we'll leave it there for now. It doesn't really matter. But yeah, I don't think we're actually going to use that. So we can move on to the top bar, which is like the third and final component. And once this is done, our dashboard is going to be done, essentially. So that's quite exciting. We've got quite a lot to import here. So let's get it going. We've got import fragment from React, and that's the only thing we're going to be getting from React. We've got quite a big one here. I'm gonna copy and paste this one. It probably wouldn't be too necessary, because sometimes when you use certain things, so like in our case, these are icons that we're importing here. If you use them in the code, it will automatically import them for you. So that might happen, and we probably could do that, but I'm just going to import them initially. But as you're working through, on your own, you may not actually need to type all this. It might just import it for you automatically if you're using VS Code at least. But I'll go through this, and you can copy it as well. So we do import, and then we're going to do from @hero icons /react /24 /solid. We've got bars 3 center left icon, pencil icon, chevron down icon, credit card icon, and cog 8 tooth icon. And we have another icon import, which is a bit smaller, so that's all right. And it's basically the same thing, except instead of solid, it's outline, and we're getting belt icon and check icon. So hopefully you can see this. If you need to pause the video and copy this stuff down, that's completely fine. We're also going to be importing some stuff from Headless UI. So I'll actually write this one out. So we'll do import menu, transition. So we've got another transition to do. In fact, I think we've got 2 transitions actually, but I think the 2 transitions are the same technically, so we can just copy and paste them, so that's fine. And we've got popover, which is used for the notification stuff. So we'll do import link from, and then we'll do next/link. There we go. So we do export. We don't need to do any forward ref stuff here, so that makes things a much easier. Export default function top bar, and we're going to pass in, and we're actually going to use these ones, by the way. So we've got show nav and set show nav. Okay, so we need to do a return and open and close brackets, and then we'll do div, and in this div we're going to have class name, and it's going to be curly braces again because we're using string interpolation. So we'll do fixed width dash full h16 flex justify between items center, and we're going to do transition all, because similar to what we did for the body, so like the actual page, when you open and close the sidebar, we want the top bar, specifically you're only really going to see the icon moving, so there's an icon that's going to open and close the sidebar. So when the sidebar closes, we want that icon to move as well, but move smoothly. So that's why we're adding transition here, and we're going to add the duration as well, which is going to be the same as the stuff we did before. So duration dash, and then in square brackets we can do 400 ms, and then we'll do $ show nav, and if the nav is showing, we're going to do pl-56. Let me just wrap that in quotes, and then we do empty quotes. So again, similar to, I think it's on layout. So yeah, we have the PL56 here, and we've basically got the same thing for top bar as well. So the next thing we do is actually going to be the same as this, this PX16 here. So what we're going to do is do div class name and then PL-4 and MD PL-16. So we're doing a similar thing to what we did here for this div, except we're doing it only to the left because we only want the icon that we're going to be adding here. So this bars 3 center left icon. We only want that to have the padding applied to it. When the sidebar opens and closes, we don't want to affect the padding on the left side. So we're actually going to add, so we're adding padding left here manually, and then we're going to add padding right to the next div we add. So that'll make more sense in a second. So we'll do class name on this, and we'll do H8 width 8, and we're also going to change the text color. So we'll do text gray 700, cursor pointer, just so it looks like something you can click on. And then what we'll do is we'll do on click, and this will do on click. We want to do set show nav, and we want it to be the opposite of whatever show nav is at the moment. So if show nav is true, we want it to be false. And oh, this is a self-closing one again. I keep doing that. I should just do this. There we go. So as I mentioned a second ago, we added the padding left to this div, and we're going to be adding padding right to this one at the bottom. Now, yeah, I'm looking at it now, and it does make sense why I'm doing this. Yeah, okay, I get it, sorry. So, yeah, we need to add the padding separately because we're using justify between. So, what we could have done is below this div, we could have added another div that was that had the padding on it, but that would have, yeah, it would have made everything a little bit more complicated. So we'll just do this instead. So we've got div, and this will control what appears at the right side of the navbar, which in our case is the user's name, profile picture, drop-down menu, and notifications. So we'll do class name, flex, items, center, PR4, MD, PR, and then 16. And then close that. So, the first thing we can add is the notification menu. So this is going to use popover, and yeah, there's a lot to it, although I think a lot of it's going to be stuff that you copy and paste, so that's not such an issue. Basically, we've got a similar situation to the links, where we have several things that are basically the exact same, so we can just copy and paste them, like, you know, a few times, and that should be fine. So start off with popover, and that's going to be class name relative. So we're making this relative, and yeah, we can close that, and then inside of that, the first thing we've got is popover dot button, and then class name, I don't know why I did that, class name is going to be equal to, sorry, outline none, so we don't want an outline. By default, Tailwind adds outlines to things that you can click, so like buttons and inputs and stuff. Not a huge fan of that, but if you are, then you can keep the outline. It doesn't really matter too much. We'll do MR-5. If it's medium or above, we'll do MR-8. We'll do cursor pointer and text gray 700. And then inside of the button, we're going to use an icon, so we'll do a bell icon, and that is going to be class name H-6 and width-6, so W6, and that's going to be self-closing again. And now we've got another transition, which is exciting, but I think it's the same transition that we use on menu, which is going to be a bit further down, so yeah, I think it is, which makes things a little bit easier for the menu at least. So we'll do transition. And obviously, by the way, if you don't want to write all this out, you can copy it from the GitHub. If you still want to follow along but don't want to write it all out, which I completely understand, you can just copy it from the GitHub. That's completely fine. So what we'll do is, hang on a minute, we'll do that, and then on another row, we'll do all of the code. So we'll do as equals, and it's going to be the same as before. We'll do fragment. This time we don't have like a show, so that you can leave that out. Enter is going to be transition, ease out, and the duration will be 100. So we'll do enter from, and that's transform scale 95. Oh. And then we'll do enter to, and that's going to be transform scale 100. And now the leave codes, we'll do leave equals transition ease in, and the duration is going to be 75. We'll do leave from, and do transform scale 100, and leave to is going to be transform again, and scale 95. So it's kind of like the opposite of the enter stuff. So you got enter from is transform scale 95, enter to transform scale 100, but then leave from is transform scale 100, and then leave to. So I guess from my understanding, and I'll be honest with you, I'm not an expert on the sort of CSS transition stuff, but I'm guessing that these represent the state that it's in. So like when it enters from, it starts off at 95% scale, and it basically, at the end of the enter transition, it's going to be at scale 100. And then when it starts to leave, it's going to start at scale 100, and then by the time it's left, it's going to have reached 95% scale. I think that's how it works. You obviously can look into that yourself if you want to, but animations and stuff aren't usually something I spend a lot of time on when I'm working on websites, although they do look really good. But yeah, it's not something I invest a lot of time in, to be honest. So now we've got the main part of the notification stuff. So we're going to do popover dot panel, and we do class name, and it's going to be absolute. We're going to do minus right 16. All this, you're going to see this and maybe not know what's going on. Basically, as I was doing it, as I was creating this dashboard, I was testing out the position of the notification box and making sure that it appeared properly on both desktop and mobile. So this is what I came up with for positioning it. So we'll do SM right 4. So from smaller screens it'll do right 4, but then on mobile it does minus right 16, and that should make it show up. We'll do Z50 just to make sure that it shows up above everything else. MT2, margin top 2, background white. We're going to add a shadow to it as well, so shadow SM. We're going to make it rounded, and then we're going to do max width, extra small by default, and then on devices that are small or above that, we'll do max width SM, and then we'll do width screen. Now this is a bit of a confusing one, but yeah, in order to get it working properly, I had to do width screen, even though the width isn't actually going to be the width of the screen. It's actually going to be this. So it's a bit of a weird one, but I had to do that to get it working, to get it actually showing up. So there we go. And we'll do, yeah, the content inside of it. So we'll do div class name, and that's relative p-3. I don't know if it needs to be relative, to be honest with you, but yeah, I've just added it there. I'm not actually sure how necessary that is, to be honest with you. I don't know why it's highlighting here. It keeps doing this. Have I done something wrong? No, I think I'm good. All right. So yeah, relative p-3. Then we're going to add the little bit at the top that says notifications, and then also a button to mark all as red. So we'll do div, and we'll do class name. So flex, justify between item center, and we want to do width full. We want it to be the full width of the notification box, and then inside of there we can do a p tag, and we'll do class name text gray 700, and we can do font medium, and then we'll just put notifications as a text, notifications, and we can do an a tag below that and do class name, and we'll do text SM, and then text orange, we'll do 500, and the href for this is just going to be a hash, so we don't actually have any functionality to mark all as red, so we can sort of just leave it as is, mark all as red, and that's it for the little top bit. Now we've got the actual little notification things themselves, so we'll do div, and the class names here will be MT4, just to add some space between that sort of heading part and this part. We'll do grid, we'll do gap 4, we'll do grid calls 1, and we're going to do overflow hidden, just to hide any text that might go over the box. So this is the part that you, well, this is like the notification part, so you will be able to copy and paste this at some point once we've written it, so you don't have to write it loads of times. So we'll do div, and this will just be a flex box. Inside of that, we will do two things. So we've got div, we'll have the check mark that shows up, and then also we've got text as well to put in there, but we'll do the check mark first. So we'll do class name rounded full shrink 0. So this is important. If you don't do shrink 0, it sort of compresses the check icon, and it looks a bit weird. So do shrink 0. The background is going to be green 200. We're going to do H8, H-8 width -8. We'll do flex items center, and we'll do justify center as well. And what this is actually doing is positioning the check mark, which we're going to add now. So we'll do check icon, and we'll do class name h-4 width -4, and do text green, and we're going to do 600 in this case. So we're going to do it a lot darker than this green here, and that's self-closing. So that's the icon, and now we'll add the text. So we'll do div, and we'll do class name, and we'll do ml-4 to add some spacing between the text and the check icon. And then we'll do p class name, and that's going to be font medium, text gray 700, and then we can close that and do notification text. So this will actually be the sort of heading of the notification. So obviously, notification title, sorry. So obviously you can put whatever you want there, and when you actually add the functionality to your sort of, let's say your live dashboard that actually has notifications, obviously you'll put the title of the notification there, and then the next thing we want to do is the actual text of the notification. So we'll do text-sm, text gray 500 this time, so we want it slightly lighter than the title. And then what we're going to do is I think we do truncate here, and that should be fine. Basically, truncate the text, yeah. So it gives us this, Tailwind gives us truncate class, which, yeah. Overflow hidden, text overflow ellipses, and white space no wrap. So when the text goes outside of the box, by default, I think text usually wraps. But in our case, we don't want it to, otherwise we could have like a huge block of text, which would look weird, so we just want it to cut off the text if it goes outside of the box. And then for this, it's just, yeah, test notification text for design. And that's it. So that is our notification box. So this part here where it's got the div class name flex, if we try and get, there we go. So this would be the part where you would loop through, usually, so you do a map, but in our case we're being a bit lazy and we just, okay, I think I did that thing again where I just copied nothing. Hang on, Control C, and there we go. So we'll add a few of these. Doesn't really matter too much. And yeah, so those are all our notifications, and that'll be our notification popover done. So yeah, there's a lot going on there, but it's quite nice. Obviously if you don't have notifications on your dashboard, you can completely ignore that part really. But yeah, quite a useful thing to know about that popover. I think I'm going to do videos in the future on each of Headless UI's sort of utilities they provide. Each of the sort of, what would you call them? Components? Yeah, there we go. Each of the components they provide, and going through how you would design them and use them and stuff like that. So below popover, we're going to add our menu. So this will be the main menu that where you would like navigate from. Obviously, we have the sidebar that you would use. So this menu would be more for like maybe having stuff related specifically to like the user. So maybe like edit profile would be one of the options on this menu. But really, you can add whatever you want, obviously. So we're going to do as div, and the class name is going to be relative inline block and text left. So inside of menu, we're going to have div. I don't know why it does this actually. It keeps highlighting stuff like it is now, and I'm not too sure what that's actually doing. I don't know why it's doing that. I haven't added something that does that, I don't think. Anyway, just VS Code being a bit weird again. So menu dot, the first thing we do is going to be a button, and that's going to be class name. We'll do inline flex. We'll do width full, width dash full, justify center, and item center. There we go. And then this button is going to hold a couple of things. Actually, it's going to hold a few things. It's going to hold our profile picture, our name, and also an icon. So we'll start off with the picture. So again, we're not using Next image, we're using picture, which Next doesn't want us to do, but yeah, it's honestly Next image. I hate working with Next image. I don't know. Maybe the devs will see this and be like, and put me right. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of Next image, to be honest. So the source is going to be /man-smiling .jpg. In our case, in my case anyway, that's what it's going to be. But for you, it'll be whatever image you have available. So class name, and obviously you can download this image from my GitHub repository if you want. So we'll do rounded full, and that'll make it a circle. We're going to do H8. We're going to do MD::MR-4. We'll do border 2. We'll do border white. And we'll do shadow as well. Shadow SM. And the alt, we can just do as profile picture. And that's going to be self-closing. And below the picture tag, we will do span. Class name is going to be hidden. So this is going to be hidden on mobile devices. But then on desktop, we'll do block to show it again. We'll do font dash medium. Text gray 700, and then obviously you can put whatever you want here as your name, so I'm just going to put Retson, and below that we will do chevron icon, oh, not the check icon, sorry, chevron, it'll be specifically the chevron down icon, and the class name for that is going to be margin left 2, it's going to be H4 width, or W, sorry, dash 4, and then text grey 700, and oops, that again is going to be self-closing. So that's the menu button done. Below that, we have something I was actually dreading, but now I've just remembered that we already technically have this. It's the transition. So we can copy this transition up here, which makes our lives much easier. Sorry, I'm still getting used to this new mouse I've got. So things are a bit janky. So if we paste that, things are a bit messed at the moment, but I'll just fix that in a second. So we'll close that, and then I'm going to save, which will reformat my code for me, which is nice. So inside of this, we've got the menu items, which there actually isn't a lot to do here, which is good. So we've got menu dot items. That's going to be, that's going to be a capital items, and then class name. So this is going to be absolute, and we're going to do right dash 0. Width is going to be 56. Z is going to be 50. MT is going to be 2. So just add a little bit of space between the top bar, or specifically the button. So this button up here and the box that this creates. We're going to do origin top right, and we're going to do background white. We'll do dark. Oh, hang on a minute. Sorry, I was adding stuff for dark mode there, which I haven't done yet. But if you want a video on dark mode, like how you would add dark mode to this dashboard, let me know, and I will do it. I've got some code left over, I think, that has dark mode stuff. So we're going to do rounded and shadow-sm, and we can close that quite easily. And yeah, we've got. It keeps doing this. Why is it? I don't get why it highlights like that. I don't know what it's trying to tell me there. So inside of this, we're going to do a div, and this is going to create it's just going to create some spacing. So we'll do px1. We could just do p1 actually. Yeah, p-1, and that's fine. So we're just going to do padding on all sides. So inside of here, we've got all the menu items. So again, this is another case of you could create like an array and loop through the menu items, or you could just copy and paste them. In our case, we're only going to have 3 menu items, so we're just going to copy and paste them again, and that works fine for us for what we're doing. So menu item, nothing on this actually. This styling is going to be on the link that we're adding here. So we've got link. We'll do href, and this is going to be hash as well. Obviously, you'll put whatever the href is for whatever page you want it to go to. So we'll do class name. Let me flex. We'll do hover, and we'll do background orange, 500, hover text white, and then text grey 700, rounded, rounded, and we'll do p2, text sm, and I think is that it? Sorry, I'm getting used to this new mouse. So we've got a thing here called group. Now I don't know. So yeah, I guess this is used transition colors, and items center. So there's a lot going on there, but fairly simple stuff. Basically, we're going to have a pencil icon. I don't know if text hover. I'm just seeing. I don't know if group is actually necessary on this one, to be honest with you. I don't know if it has, because we're not actually changing the color of the icon that we're using. So I don't know if group is necessary. I'm going to leave it in there, but yeah, it might not actually be necessary for what we're doing. So okay. Right. There we go. Okay, there we go. So I'm getting used to this mouse. It's one of the Apple Magic mice that you can get, and you can sort of do all the trackpad stuff, but on the mouse. So it's a bit. I'm getting used to that. It's a bit confusing to use, but yeah. The first thing we're going to do is add an icon here. So pencil icon, class name, H for width for, and then we'll add some margin, so margin 2, and then we'll do edit. So that's our first menu item. The next 2 items, and again I'm only adding 2 I'm adding 2 more arbitrarily, but you can obviously add as many or as few as you want. So I'm just adding 2 more just for sort of example purposes. So this will be billing, and it's going to use credit card icon. This one is going to be settings, and that's going to use cog 8 tooth icon. And I think that's it for top bar, and that would basically mean that's it for everything. So let's see if this works. Oh, look at this. So it seems to all be working. There we go. So yeah, that's the dashboard pretty much done. What I want to do now is just add on this index.js sort of a little example of what you might do for a page. So let's get rid of what's here now, and we will do brackets, and I'm going to do, well, okay, I'm going to do the empty ones just for now, that's fine. And what we'll do is we'll add a title on this page, so we'll do class name text gray 700, we'll do text 3XL, we'll add a margin bottom of 16 and we'll make it bold. And this is just going to be, so this is going to be the title of the page, so obviously this will change depending on what page you're working on. So like in my case, I'm just going to call it dashboard. And I also want to add some placeholder stuff, just to give you an example of what it could look like. So class name, I'm going to use grid for this, so we'll do grid and then LG. So for large screen, it's going to be grid cols 3. There's going to be a gap of 5 between them, and we'll do MB16. So we'll add margin bottom to separate any content that goes below it. So we'll do, we can just copy and paste what I'm about to do. So I'll do div class name rounded, background white. We're going to give them a height of 40 initially, just because there's no content in them, so we need to do this. And we can add shadows to them. And then you don't really need to put anything inside of them. If you just grab these, and then we're going to add 2 more of these, like that. And let's add one more thing below this, which is going to be sort of similar to what we just did. We'll do class name grid again. And we'll do col1, background white, H, so the height is going to be 96, so quite a big one, and shadow -sm, and we can close that. So if we save that, and we go back to our screen, you can see we've got 3 boxes here, and a big box here. So that's pretty much it for our dashboard. Everything's quite smooth. We've got the correct spacing. Everything sort of lines up, which looks quite nice. We've got our notifications, profile picture with our menu here. And we can try, if we do inspect, we can do smaller screen, so it gets, yep, so it changes. And this is what I was talking about earlier about the overlay. So the sidebar overlays the content. But on desktop, it sort of displays besides the content. So it's sort of included in the content as opposed to an overlay like it does on mobile. And I think that works better. Obviously on mobile, what you could do is have a completely different menu. I've sort of done this in a way where we can use the same sidebar for mobile and desktop, which is sort of trickier to do. But once you've figured it out, it's quite nice to use. So hopefully that's useful for you. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, suggest any stuff you want me to do in the future in the comments, and I will see you guys next time. Goodbye.